I think it's great that we can come together like this and learn a little bit about what we're doing and what we're doing in the community. We were honored to play a small part in sponsoring this lunch. Titan Biosciences has been in Danville operationally for almost a year now. We're based at the Dan River Business Development Center over on Ringgold. And we are in the biofuel space, and we use tobacco plants, modified tobacco plants, to create energy products, namely ethanol and biodiesel. And we do that by modifying the tobacco to boost its natural sugars for ethanol and oils for biodiesel. And our team, I'd say, is from seed to final drop. We have molecular biologists, plant scientists, chemical engineers. We're trying to address the whole equation, from creating the plant that has those good characteristics for biofuel, but also how we grow it and how we process it. And a lot of people ask me why. And so I put a little handout on your table that you can take away. But they ask me, why are we trying to play in the biofuel space? We keep finding natural gas, we keep finding oil other places, and why tobacco? So first, why biofuels? Well, natural gas is a fantastic resource. However, the infrastructure to deliver energy to our vehicles, namely gasoline and diesel, really needs another liquid fuel. And ethanol, the U.S. is really committed to ethanol and biodiesel, but by 2020, there's a huge gap that corn and soy can't address. And so there are a lot of technologies that hopefully will mature in time to address that, and we think we're going to be one of them playing in that space. But it's a huge gap. And when you look at our trade deficit, about $330 billion goes to foreign oil, goes overseas.
Technology, that's it. You want the young people in your community to be here and ready to fill those positions in research and science, chemicals, whatever. So we're here to tell you a little bit of a story and showcase a little bit about a program I hope that will be a partner in what you're doing, and that I hope we can create a partnership that will benefit all of us, you, the community, and your organization. So with me today, I'd like to let you know who's with me today, so when they stand up, you'll know who they are. I've got, and you can just raise your hands, Carol Edelman is our Director of Program Development and Outreach for VirginiaFIRST, our 501 in the state. That's a nonprofit organization. I also have Dan Waters, who's a longtime advocate of our program and the teacher coach at George Washington High School, and he has several teams that are involved in our program. And of course, Mike introduced sort of Jamil and Daniel, who are on the Winning Alliance, and they're heading to FIRST Championship with 30,000 other people from around the world representing FIRST. They just won their position last week at the Virginia Regional. So I've got a little family of people, and Martha Walker as well. I think you all know Martha. She's with the Virginia Cooperative Extension and has been part of our family as a judge and an advocate, and helped us negotiate our way, and also a board member. So some of you, it's okay for me to come up as a cheerleader and Carol to tell you about particulars, but we're really here, to showcase the program through the eyes of people who live here, and they can basically talk about what is appropriate to your community and why you should be engaged and involved. Just imagine that there's something that has the excitement of a sporting event, a high-tech sporting event, the drama of that sort of event. You've all heard about it. We finished March Madness. Think of something that attracts youth, which that's kind of tough when you're competing with sports and MTV and other distractions. Something that involves science and technology and keeps kids engaged in learning. I mean, that's hard to do in these days and age, really. I mean, you educators are shaking your head, and parents know, and you students too. It's sports is really important. And sometimes academia takes a little bit of a second place. But that combination, they've got to be side by side, because you can't do second place when it comes to being prepared for the 21st century workplace. You just cannot. It's moving too fast. And if they don't keep up, their opportunity is going to be slipping away. So when you're imagining something that gets kids engaged, keeps them engaged in learning, involves the entire community, gives them a leg up on the 21st century skills that they need to be successful, you're talking about like almost an intervention, and that's or a partnership, and that's what FIRST is. So basically, FIRST stands for, I think maybe Mike read it or not, I didn't hear, but it's for inspiration and recognition of science and technology 300,000 young people are involved on FIRST teams around the world, 120,000 mentors, coaches, and volunteers. And I just wanted you to hear a little bit about the scope. Here in Virginia, VirginiaFIRST is the 501c3, which is a nonprofit organization. And we administer, with the help of board members, advisory board members, volunteers, we administer several programs that appeal to youth. We work with our partner who administrates some of the others. And we're going to show you a video so you'll see what we're talking about. For the youngsters, we have the junior and the FLL programs. And for the upper middle schoolers, we have the FIRST Tech Challenge and FIRST Robotics competition. So you'll see what we look like in just a few minutes. But the basic story is this is not about robotics. This is really about problem solving, team building, and learning. And we just want you to have some interest and curiosity and to pique that for you so that you can become engaged and involved and share your expertise and knowledge with these youth. And what they'll share with you is their enthusiasm for learning and their absolutely need for new information that you may have through your experience, but they may need for the future. So each one of you will benefit if there's some sort of a partnership that you will develop with these young students in your community. You will learn from them because many of them are cutting edge, but they need to know some of the experience and the real world application of technology and what you've been learning on the ground. So again, we're here to encourage partnership and involvement, and we can share many ways that can occur, but let's take a look at what we are doing and then see if it's something you want to do as well. So we can take a look at the video if you have. And I really thank you again. So take a look at us, and then maybe we can talk afterwards.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting us to come and share with you today and share some of our experiences. I've been doing this for 9 years. I started a team at George Washington High School 9 years ago. I was contacted and asked if I could start something that was an after-school enrichment program. I already had a folder put aside. I told them how much it would cost, thinking that they would probably say no. They said yes, and so here we are. But I continue to do it. I've been teaching high school for 27 years. And teaching high school, teaching technology education, we get a lot of different opportunities to compete in a lot of different student organizations and student competitions. This is the only one that I've done more than 1 year. And that says a lot because it takes a lot for me to give my extra time to put into something and it really has to feel worthwhile, and this feels more than worthwhile. To give you a little bit more of a scope of what happens at the competition level, you know, we are wrapping up March Madness, as we said. 64 teams in the entire tournament for the NCAA. We just finished the Virginia Regional, 65 teams, all in one place, all playing at the same time in one arena, with fans, with costumes, with excitement. Imagine the entire NCAA tournament under one roof, and you almost get a sense of the excitement that is at these competitions. As we said before, the robot is, no pun intended, but just a vehicle. The robot is just there to give us something to do. What we're really doing is we are building those teams. We're building those interpersonal relationships, those skills that these young people, you know, nobody's going to go out in the real world and build a robot to shoot frisbees. Let's face it. You know, we don't really have a market for that. Dogs might love it, but you know, that's not really what we're after. What we're after is what these young people and adults and everybody involved gets out of this, and the ability to work in a stressful environment, come out of it feeling great with what you've done, win or lose, that you have worked with other people, that you've helped other people get to a point that they are. You have taken people who didn't know what a drill was, and now they do. You've built a business plan, you've built a website, you have gone out and raised money to fund this whole event. You have put together the logistics of hotel rooms and how to work together and how to spend a weekend together in a room and just how to be a part of an organization. And that's really what this is all about. If we could do that without robots, it wouldn't be quite as fun, but we would still do it, and we would still get out of it what we get out of. A lot of the kids don't even realize what they're getting out of this until it's over with. My son started out in FLL. He helped start the team at Chatham Middle School. He was on a First Tech Challenge, which was actually VEX. At that time, he was president of the team at Chatham High School, and he still comes back and helps out at the FTC events and the FRC events, and he loves it. So whenever he has a chance, he loves to do that. My daughter is president of the team at Chatham Hall, and they won an event on the Eastern Shore and went to the state level. And the things that those girls get out of that competition and being involved in that level is tremendous. She just got back from Cuba and actually one day wore her shirt in Cuba and talked about, to some of the people, talked about FIRST there. So she's spread FIRST to Cuba. I don't know if that'll actually bite or not, but so maybe we'll have some Cuban teams coming next year. We've already got teams from Brazil and from Israel and from the UK and from Canada and it's Australia. So it's just, if you ever get a chance to get involved, to come by and see what we're doing from January through the end of February at GW, at Chatham High School. Governor's School works out of Martinsville. If you're ever around and you want to stop by and help or just be a part of it, or I'm sure Patty and Carol will be glad to take on more people to come and see, you will be hooked and you won't be able to get away from it. So I think we have two gentlemen from the Stags. And it took me a while to figure out. They wear reindeer antlers and they win the Image Award every year, and they're terrific. They're a fabulous group to work with. We work with them. We work against them at GW, but we work with them too. We were as excited as they were when they won. And Stags, I'm going to let you guys tell what Stags stands for, because it took me a while. I was like, where is this coming from? But now I know. And so which one's coming up first? Jamel? Okay. Jamel, who was coach?
Yes, sir. I was coach last year.
Right. And of the Stags team, which is from the Governor's School out of Martinsville. Danville and Martinsville. But they work at home.
My name is Jamil Stafford, and the STAG stands for Science, Technology, and Gifted Students. It's the name they gave for it. And I intend to go to Virginia Tech, major in aerospace engineering, and possibly a job at NASA or Lockheed Martin building airplanes. And Mr. Pace would go around the governor's school and ask teams, ask the students, we have a robotics team if anybody wants to join. Just come see me, ask for the times and stuff like that. And two thoughts that went through my head. Either these are fighting robots or I get to build an airplane. I said, probably not fighting robots, so I get to build an airplane, or learn how to build one at least. So I got the date and time and showed up at one of the meetings, and they were talking about just, all right, want students to throw out ideas about what to put on a robot, what to make a robot do. And one of the mentors said, what do you want the robot to do? I said, what can we do with the robot? He said, don't ask that question. What do you want the robot to do? I said, what do you mean? We have to be limited. He said, you tell us what we want to do. We try it. If it doesn't work, we do something else. I said, okay, a lot of options here. So the game came out, and this was last year with a basketball game, and we all had totally different ideas of how to make the robot. Different drive systems, how to shoot it, how to pick up the basketballs, all totally different things there. And then everybody tried their own idea. No, they said no to no ideas. And then eventually, a collaboration of the ideas just came together and just made this wonderful robot that we took to Richmond and won with. And it's a great experience to go there and win that. And one of the things being on the team that helps a lot in that is you have people in different sections with different experiences and intelligences. Some people, like Daniel, know how to build stuff. They've worked in that their whole life. They know how to make two things go together, work power saws, all that stuff. And you have different people that know how to work a computer more than anything else, more than Microsoft on the team. And it's amazing to watch it come together and to learn from both ways. You have people that know how to make the robot look good and put antlers on the robot like the people. And you just see it all come together, and you learn from each person, each mentor. They have different ways of doing things, and they all teach you different things. And one of the things I noticed on the medals they gave us for inspiration and recognition of science and technology. This shouldn't go to the students. This should go to the mentors, because they inspired us. We came to learn, and they were there to inspire us. And I thank them a lot for that. That was just a wonderful thing they do. Spend a lot of time on the robot. A lot of time outside of the meetings arguing about different things. They don't like to do that in front of the students. In front of us, they're all good friends. Discuss. And it's a big help they do. And the whole team, you learn a lot from different areas, working together with people. You learn to work with a lot of different people. It's one thing to do it on a small team. When you get to the competition with 60-some teams and a lot of people on each team, last year was a lot more difficult than this year because you had to work with your opposing alliance to get competition points. So you would learn to work with the other two teams on your alliance. That became a little difficult at times. You didn't really know where each team was going, but it all worked out towards the end, which you figured out how to work with other people. And working with the opposing alliance, you want to beat these guys, but you have to work with them. You have to help them win too. It's not fun. You don't go to a football game and tell the other team your strategies. But you kind of had to last year. And that taught a lot about how to work with different people, even people you don't want to work with, people you want to beat. You have to learn to work with everybody. Great experience in every way. You get to build what you want, what other people want, and make it all work together at the end. And I believe Daniel Locklear, the builder on the team and also the driver.
Thank y'all for having me here today. It's a pleasure to be here. It's cool. Good food. Well, how I got started, involved in the team. Jamil, who's my cousin, he's with the governor's school. I'm homeschooled, so I don't go there. I'm not involved in big activities like this. So Mr. Pace, who's the director of the governor's school, he started the robotics. He told Jamil that, because I like building things, enjoy working with little stuff like that, it's a lot of fun. He told Jamil that he had to get his cousin in on the robotics thing. This was last year. And I was like, well, Jamil told me about it. I was like, okay, well, sounds like fun to get to build a robot and try to beat other people. Seems like a lot of fun. So I went to one of the meetings, and yeah, like he said, we go over the stuff. Nobody shoots down any of our ideas. We all collaborate them together and build a cool looking robot. Doing lots of stuff, you learn, how to work with all the other people. It's really cool. And it was a lot of fun just starting to do that without knowing much about it, because I didn't know hardly anything till I got there, and then this flood of information comes in. And you get to work with all the other teams. Like you said, on your alliance, you go and work with each, because one time, like Dan was saying, you have they're against you this time and then with you this time. So they're working with you, you're talking to them, being like, okay, we need to win this, try to go through, and then the next time they're trying to beat you. So you're like, I thought they were on my side, but no. So you get to work with them and against them and then try to collaborate all your stuff together, and it puts you all like on the same level. You're all equal. It's not we're better than you and you keep beating them. It's we beat you this time and then they come with us and they're on the opposite side, then they're on your side, and it's really neat to have all that work out in that way. And with the opposing team last year on the quad partition bridge, there was one in the middle, we both tried to join in with that, and we would go to them and be like, okay, well, what do y'all need to do to be able to get on the bridge with us and both balance when it's really stressful? You have like 10 seconds left before they shut your robot down and you're trying to drive on it and everything's going on. I mean, it's loud, really super exciting, like they said. I mean, think of like the major sporting events, this totally tops that in my mind by anything else I've ever done. I mean, it's the most exciting thing by far that I've ever done in my life. Our robot this year, we shot frisbees and then hung on this pyramid. We had the feeder station you back up to put the frisbees in. And we had to line up straight, and we had like a bucket cut out. You put the frisbees in and a little lever that pushed them in. So the frisbees had to go in right side up for us to be able to shoot them out. And we knew we'd had in practicing a few times, if one turned upside down, we couldn't shoot anymore. And that's the main thing we did. We were good at shooting. So, and I think it was the semifinals this year, I backed up to this feeder station, and Jerry, who was loading the robot, he puts a frisbee in and it turns upside down. So we're like, well, shoot, we can't shoot anymore. What do we do? I mean, because that was our whole strategy. We had told the other teams we could shoot well, and then we can't shoot at all. So I drove the robot, and there's two drivers. I looked at Bobby, the other one, and he was like, what do I do? So he was like, go block and defend our team, keep the other robots from scoring. So we go over there to where they can't get to where they can shoot, and then block them, and that ended up causing us to win the game because we didn't know we could block, and we blocked great. So they couldn't get past us. They were ramming us and couldn't do anything. And it makes you know that, like, in your life, if the frisbee turns upside down, you can't shoot, your whole plan of what you're going to do is all ruined. You have to stop, think for a second, and then you can go do something else. You think of another plan, that ends up causing you to win. It's amazing. You learn so much through this. There's no other thing that's equals the amount of learning you can get. Like in school, you can take tests and read books and study all the time. And yeah, you learn stuff, you have a lot of knowledge, but you can't get the real hands-on experience and personal experiences with stuff happening in your life like you can through FIRST. It's the only way really for a lot of us high school kids with all the distractions and stuff they were talking about to get hands-on experience with going through these things. And I mean, you learn from your mistakes. That's a good, I mean, you actually do. You learn from everything through this. Last year, when we won the competition, we had no expectation whatsoever of winning. So we ended up winning. We were super excited and all got on the bus to go back. And little did all of us students know, but the mentors were going to try to break it to us on the way back. We had, I think, $7 left in our account. So it costs a lot to go to St. Louis, apparently. So we came back, and they kind of broke it to us on the way back that we weren't going to have enough money to go to St. Louis, so because we just qualified to go. And we got back and we're like, okay, well, we were still excited that we won. And then we had people from the community, I mean, all stepped up, and it was over $20,000 we ended up having to, people would just give us, and then allowed us to be able to go. It was amazing how the community just stepped up for us. And because we were like, well, we can't go, and then they made it happen. It was amazing. The whole robotics thing, when you learn how everything works on this robot, it makes you think of stuff differently. Like, I walk into this building, okay, outside it looks like it's a really cool looking building. I'm noticing all the structural stuff you can see from the outside, how it all works, the load-bearing walls, and how everything is, and it's just a natural. I'll just look at the building, and then all this stuff pops into my mind of how it all works. I mean, you see little things of keyboards and TVs, and it just, you know how it works somehow, and just like, I didn't know that before. How you're putting all these little pieces together. It's really neat. And I want to thank First Robotics for allowing me to have this opportunity to work through this and learn everything. I've learned so much through this, and thanks for all the other thousands of students whose lives were changed by it, because that's a really super big thing for all these others to learn how to use all these power tools, and it's a great experience. And for all the sponsors that help fund it, because you have to build the robot somehow. So it's great. Thank you all.
Oh, I always have tears in my eyes. Thank you so much, Daniel and Jamil. So I've never met either of the students. I've seen them with the 2,000 other young people walking by, and I come up and say hi, and I congratulate them as they win. But frankly, I don't know about you, and I'm fairly outgoing and very comfortable, and I've been in a lot of situations, and I do quite a bit now of public speaking, but how many of you would actually stand up? I never did until I actually worked for FIRST, and I was quite old by then. How many of you could have stood up in high school? Oh, I mean, and I can pick, I mean, you guys are exceptional, but I've gone through the pit area where the kids are working, and I've said, I'm having a breakfast tomorrow for the Technology Council. Could you come up and speak? And I've gotten so blasé about it because I'm never let down. I don't know their story. I don't know where they're from. I didn't even have a telephone number for Daniel. I just said to Jamil, just bring them along. You don't know what they're going to say, but I think that's why we all get up and do what we're doing and work way under our expectations in terms of our time, our pay, our lives. We have no lives left, but it's when we finish the regional, they know that. I mean, the kids, I mean, you saw this workaholic. That is not kidding. All of us are out there. Many of us are actually volunteers on top of our pay. Because of spending 3 days with these students, or 4 or 5 times a year, it just makes you say, you are really making a difference in people's lives. And here's a perfect example. They can speak. They can be interviewed by college admissions folks. They can be interviewed for a job. And I want to say that I've been coming down here for a long, long time. Linda Green used to invite us to come down, and some of these kids felt really disadvantaged. Now, not that they're poor. They just used to say to me, we don't have anything like this here, and we're competing against the kids in Northern Virginia. So I hope my Northern Virginia kids don't hear us, but I kept thinking they deserve a piece of it because they are super smart. It's just you never get to see them out there, compete with them. So I'm very, very dedicated, as Dan knows, and Martha knows, and Linda knows. I've come down and made this trip a lot of times. I've written a lot of long grants to the Tobacco Commission that end up in the waste paper bin. And they're really good grants, but I have tried, and we've advocated, and we've begged, but they need help. And so whether you help them to give them a couple of dollars, or whether you give them your hours, or your resources, or your access, very important, because they can't thrive without that. I just want to say they're so amazing, and I just think they're terrific. And your son, by the way, you didn't mention, is at UVA in engineering, thanks to the program, and he's a great supporter of ours and help. So that's important to say. Mom is going to say a few words.
Just a few.
Okay,
Thank
that's enough. Come on.
to do that. Thank you, Patty. Patty's exactly right. We have an opportunity in this community. I have been just thrilled to be part of this team for the last 4 years and to be invited to be a judge at the regional competition. Multiple awards are given on the technology side and on the business side. So everybody is needed to do a good business plan. It's right on the money. I want to have a marketer in there. In the past, I have had the opportunity to judge on the business side. I look at the business plans. I look at the marketing strategies. I look at how you've engaged your community and how you've spread the word. I want to know what your imagery looks like. I want to know how you're dressed, if you look good. I want to know how you're talking to me as a judge. On the other side, there are all these engineers and researchers and scientists that are evaluating the safety issues using the Underwriter Laboratory. They're specialists there related to safety. We are looking at how your whole workstation is organized and structured, just like it would be in the industry. We want to know that you're neat and that you're orderly and that you're not creating hazards for yourself. They're looking at how the robot itself is actually constructed. Does it make sense? Or how the wire is in there? How are you managing it? They're also looking at competition. How are you competing? And then there's that cooperation, that wonderful word and gracious professionalism that's out there. All that is evaluated. And if you think your coaches are having disagreements, we call them debates. But when we go into the judges' room, we have found a team that's touched our hearts, and we are going to be the voice for that team. We're going to say, did you see this? You should have seen that. Well, when I talked to them, they did this. Well, you need to go back out there and talk to them again. It's wonderful. This past year, I was fortunate enough to be asked to be one of 2 judges to select the Chairman's Award recipient. And now I have to tell you, my partner, you'll see him when we play this last. Are we going to have time to play the last video? We'll see. We'll look at Michael to see. It's actually the Virginia competition, but my partner, Terry, and I, we were stuck in the ladies' locker room for the volleyball team for a full day, evaluating and listening to these teams talk to us about what was going on in their team and what they had done. And when we hear how teams are starting other teams and they're stepping outside of their own school to start a Lego team or to work with others or to spread the word about science and technology and mathematics all across their community, what a difference that makes. What an impression that makes on the judges. We have seen judges say, I'm watching you. When you graduate from college, I'm coming after you. And this past time, we worked with a young lady who had just graduated from college. She was our gopher, so to speak. She would go get the teams and bring them to us. She had not yet had a job. By the end of the whole event, she was interviewing with Geico last week. So we have teams, we have judges there that are representing Rolls-Royce. We had the plant manager for Rolls-Royce there. They're sitting right there with me. Micron, Hewlett, all of the big dogs. NASA. Oh my gosh, I had to bring this because I can't remember all of them, but if you want to see who else is sponsoring FIRST Robotics in Virginia, I've got the list of sponsorships. If you want to see the awards, I've got the booklet for you. So here's my challenge to you. And I know I'm looking at Clark because he already knows what my challenge is. I have a vision for this region. We've been talking about it for a couple years. It's not like me to let something sit on the table for a couple of years. But maybe we weren't quite ready. So I think maybe we are. We are now. We'd like to see this grown in this community. We know we've got Governor's School that represents Martinsville, Henry County, Danville, and Pennsylvania County, and we're very proud of that. We've got GW, who is just soaring. Is Galileo School part of y'all's team now? Okay. We've got Chatham High School. We've got Chatham Hall. But there's a lot of other opportunities that are not being tapped. So what does it take? Well, you could say, well, Martha, I think it's going to take some money. And you heard Patty say that. Yeah, it does. It's not cheap. This is not cheap. Travel expenses, equipment, time, all that's not cheap. But before we get the money, we need the manpower. We need the person power. Right, Dan? We need engineers, we need business people, we need people to step up and say, you know what, I'm willing to put together some effort and invest some time. You know, I've got 3 months, I'll give it to you. Or more than that. We can work with these teams all year. We just can't build all year. So if you're interested, Dan, I'm going to put you on the spot and say, you know, contact Dan, contact me. We're available to you. And we'll get you in touch with Patty. And once we get the teams put together, we'll figure out how much money we need. Is that a deal?